What makes a memorable main character? Well, for a character to carry a series of books, you'll need to make the person really memorable. Although the every kid type will offer instant ability for readers to connect, it won't be enough. The character needs specific, unique traits or abilities to linger in the mind of the reader.
It's the Writing for Children podcast with your host, Katie Davis. Katie's an author herself and is the director of the Institute of Children's Literature, where since 1969, aspiring writers have learned to write for children and get published.
Episode 020.
We want to write for children. We want to dream up stories in prose and poetry, from YA to picture books. We'll write a novel. I'll maybe try nonfiction, but we'll need help along the way. So there's a podcast, and it can save us. Writing for Children with Katie Davis. Let's write for children. We'll take it day by day.
Hi, everybody. Have you had a good week? Have you been writing? I hope you have been. Okay, we are deep into fall now. It's getting chilly outside, on the East Coast at least, and it's good to be inside writing. So, are you writing about characters? I just hit my head. Did you hear that? Okay, let's see. Let's get into this 5 tips to a great main character. But first, I'm going to give you some links. Let's see what we got here today. We have a magazine called Ask Magazine for ages 7 to 10. It's science and nonfiction. That is very cool. It's for 7 to 10 years old for kids who are curious about science and the world they live in. So if you're interested in trying to get published in a magazine for kids, this is a great way to start. We have also a link to a Military Kids Life magazine. It's a paying market. Get paid for what you write, guys. That would be awesome, right? What could be bad? Nothing bad about getting paid for what you write. It's they publish nonfiction and poetry of interest to military kids, ages 6 to 14, and their families. And I also have a link, which I feel like I might have put this in a previous show notes. I don't remember, but I have When Agents Wave the Red Flag. The first agent who shows an interest in your work may not be the best one for you. Here are some tips for things to notice and what they mean. And, when I met my agent, I loved her. I had interviewed a bunch of people. I had already had one agent, and he was great for a long time. And then things, relationships change, just like any relationship. And so it's really, it's good to not be scared to be without an agent, to take your time and meet people, interview people. And nowadays you can, you can go on the internets and you can Skype or Zoom or whatever, FaceTime, and meet them, virtually. So interview people. It's kind of cool if you can do that. So, okay. Those are some tips, and you can get them straight links. It's awesome. All you have to do is get the show notes, and you can click right to them, and they take you out to all these places. Go to, if you've been listening, writingforchildren.com/020, because it's episode 20. All right. Did you know our magazine markets for children's writers 2017 and book markets for children's writers 2017 are published out, waiting for you. So that's also in the show notes, or just go to our shop, our store on our site at instituteforwriters.com. Let's see. Why don't we get into 5 tips to make a great main character? What makes a memorable main character? Well, for a character to carry a series of books, you'll need to make the person really memorable. Although the every kid type will offer instant ability for readers to connect, it won't be enough. The character needs specific, unique traits or abilities to linger in the mind of the reader. The unique trait might be like a learning disability, like Joey Pigza in the Joey Pigza series by Jack Gantos. Or your character might have unusual ability, like Janson has a photographic memory, or speech patterns, like Junie B speaks like a real kindergartner, which makes some people nuts, but she does sound like a 5-year-old. But anyway, the character needs something to stand out from the pack. Number 1, make the main character matter emotionally. That doesn't mean the main character must be a paragon of virtue. In fact, no one likes a perfect person. You know, nobody likes a perfect character since they don't read as real, and they're kind of obnoxious and boring. But you must give the character something we can connect with so that their fate matters to us. You know, we want to love this person. It's the weakness in a character and the character's voice that makes them linger in our minds. 2, set important skills early. Now, you may realize as you're writing the story that your main character needs to be able to read Russian or be a whiz at, pattern recognition if they're a sleuth, or needs to be a math genius or read upside down or mirror writing without a mirror in order for him to be the perfect person to solve a mystery, say, or whatever you're writing. You might need to have a certain kind of skill or a certain stubbornness for the plot to work. In that case, you have to let the reader know about that unusual skill or character trait early, long before it's employed, so that doesn't feel too convenient. Like, remember how Katniss went hunting and was great with that bow and arrow early on in the story, in the first book? It came in handy when she went off to the Hunger Games, right? It didn't seem like a convenient plot trick. It fit. And it worked. Number 3, give the main character life beyond the main issue. Though this isn't a particularly important part of the plot, it will help to make the main character matter more to the reader. And usually this is done by giving the main character some kind of other conflict, a more minor one, like either family or school, and that can be a subplot of the book. 4, motivation. Motivate your character. Watch your motivations and make them logical, sensible, and smart, and make them fit into the story. Number 5, consider the value of a Watson, a sidekick. A Watson gives the main character someone to bounce ideas against and someone to ask questions that the reader might be asking themselves. So there's 5 tips to a great main character. Now, I am going to be the one to answer this question because I have been asked this question many times, so I'm just going to answer it. And it comes from Angela. Let's see what she has to say.
Hello, Katie. My name is Angela, and I'm in the process of designing my book cover. I'd like to know, who do you feel chooses the book most often based on the cover? The child or the parent who is buying the book?
Hi, Angela. Thanks for calling in your question. Well, I absolutely think that people judge a book by its cover, and the person who buys the book is the parent, obviously, but the kid might see something and say, "Oh, Mom, look at that." I mean, it depends also what age your book is targeted for, but I definitely think that it needs to be appealing to anyone. It does need to appeal to the parent in some way, not that it needs to tell a story that will teach something, but it just needs to be an appealing, compelling cover, period, to appeal to humans. I don't think it needs to appeal more to a child or an adult. I just think that adults want to please the child for whom they're buying the book. So visually, your cover needs to appeal to the eye. Definitely have an experienced book cover graphic designer. And I think that it's very important to have a professional do it because it's not easy. I mean, I'm an illustrator and I'm not a graphic designer. There's a very big difference between the two. There are places you can go that you can hire people. Since it sounds like you're self-publishing, I will include some links in the show notes. I do want to tell you about my friend Dave Chesson, who is the Kindlepreneur. And he has a great blog post from 2015 called How to Use Fiverr to Make Amazing Ebook Covers. Now, this is an ebook cover. I don't know if you're going to be printing your book, but he's so good. And you may find you can use the information for your book anyway. And I'm going to include the link in the show notes. Show notes are writingforchildren.com/020. And if you want to find it on your own, go to kindlepreneur.com and do a search for how to use Fiverr to make amazing ebook covers. Okay? So, with that, I think that's everything. I do believe that's my closing music. That must be everything. Don't forget, we have our critique service going like gangbusters. We've got great testimonials from people. It's been wonderful. I hope that you will check it out. Carla Montgomery, I read her testimonial last week. I'm just going to do it again because it was so fabulous. She said, what a great critique service. I needed to know if my story was going in the right direction. She sent it in a very short time. She received a very useful response. She said that she loved the service. She'll be using it again, and that she would tell her friends to use it. So that's pretty good testimonial. And you can check it out on our website or just get the show notes, writingforchildren.com/020. I will see you next week.